What's up guys, this is Crawford Cubes and I am here for a cubing tutorial, and I'm going to tell you how to solve a 4x4 Rubik's Cube. The method we're going to be using is the Yau Method. There are 5 steps to the Yau Method, and that is solving 2 opposite centers, 3 cross edges, build the rest of the centers and the final cross edge, build the rest of the edges, and then solve it like a 3x3. So those are the 5 steps to solving a 4x4 using the Yau method. So the first step is solving the 2 opposite centers, and I'm going to show you my method for doing that. So the first thing I do is I create the 1x2 block. Then I create my second 1x2 block and insert it. So now I have the white center. Now I create a 1x2 yellow block, and this one's already created, and I just put it up on top, and I can't just do that because then I'll break the white, so I move it out of the way and bring it back down, making sure that the spot is empty. And then I create my second yellow 1x2 block, and instead of doing this and then rotating it and doing that, since that does nothing, I align it with this yellow block and I put it in its spot so that it brings this up, and I can move it out of the way, and when I bring it back down, it'll fix this and bring this back up. So that's creating the first 2 opposite centers. The next step is creating the cross edges, or 3 of the cross edges. And what I like to do is I solve with the blue on front, green in back, and red on bottom, and that leaves the orange on top. So we're going to solve whichever of the 3 is easiest to solve, and I already saw that there's a blue cross edge right here and a blue cross edge right here. So you bring up the 2 cross edges to the top layer, making sure that the white is on the left side. And building the edges is similar to F2L, except there's only 2 cases you'll run into. You'll have the opposite colors, or you'll have the same colors like this, these 2 reds. When there's opposite colors, you need to make them across from each other like this, so you can bring them together like that. That's my method of putting together the opposite colors. But if you have the same colors on top, you can either keep it like this, and it's similar to the F2L case where we have the 2 of the same colors on top. So we can bring this down, bring it across, and match it up, and then we insert it. So we bring this down, we bring it next to it, and we bring it up, and that'll create it. So that's the 2 different cases. But there's a variation of the 2 matching on top that I'll show you next. And so we have to put the red cross edge in. We bring this down, or we bring the blue up, we bring it down. So if you know the 3x3 color scheme, we know that the blue is in front and the red is on bottom. if we hold it like this. And it sort of helps if, like, when you're first solving with the Yau method, it helps to have this a 3x3 at hand so you can see the color scheme. So now we need to create the green cross edge. So this is the variation of the second case. And basically what you do is it's the same thing. You bring this down. So you bring the one in front of you down. You bring this one across to the spot and you bring it back up. And then you just insert it in right here. And now you have all three of the cross edges done. The next step is creating the centers. So the most efficient or fastest way that I've found to do this is to create half of each center except for the orange one. So you can see that there's a blue half center right here and a red half center. What I would do is I would bring it up to the top because we have this whole layer that we can turn around and mess with. And we have to make sure that when we match it up, it matches up on the left side, so that when we finish, we have this whole, we have this layer, or these layers, and this layer to work with when we create the rest of the centers. So I would keep that there, but rather than just keeping it there, I move on to the red one. I can see that the red is right here, and it's not in the correct spot. We need to rotate it this way. So I would bring it back up to the top, rotate it correctly, and put it back. And so now we have the half center here, the half center here, and we need to create the green half center. So I can see that we can bring this up, and we would have to have a green edge right here, or a green center right here. And so I see that we have a green center right here, so we can rotate this, making sure that we keep all the cross edges right where they are. And then bring this up, rotate it correctly, and bring it back down. So now we have all three of these half centers. We don't need to create the orange half center because as we solve this one, it will solve this one. Now that we have all the half centers, we can create the next center, or we can finish off one of the centers. Now I usually go for what's easiest, and I see that we can create the red center with just one rotation, or one move. And yep. So now I would create the blue center because I like solving with the green and orange last, and it makes it a lot easier if you can't see the green because you have less to think about. So I bring the two center pieces to the top, and I can see if we bring this up, then we have to move this here. So we can move this here, move it here, and the red center is broken. So what we have to do is we have to move this into the area that we're not going to be rotating, and we move it back. And then we can, we have to place this into this slot. So we do that, we can twist it and bring it in. Now, we know that each center is made of 4 other centers, and there are 2 green here. So that means there's 2 green centers here, and we already know that the other 2 green centers are in the back, on the left. So we can say that the other 2 orange centers are on the right, in the back. And that's exactly what I said would happen. And so now what we do next is we create the 1x2 bar, a green 1x2 bar, so that we can insert it into here. And as we solve this green center, we solve this. because there's no other place for these centers to go. So we create the bar, we move it out of the way so we can move this freely, and we bring the slot up, twist the centers into the slot, and bring it back. So now we have all the centers solved. The next step is creating the final cross edge. And so we have to bring the next cross edge into the top layer. And at first it might be hard to find them, but if you can just think about white edges, because it's the last white edge you're looking for. And so just look at each little each edge section and just look for white. So you can see here there's no white, none, none, none. And here there's a white. So we know that it's there, and we have to keep that in mind. And no white, but there's a white here. So we bring them to the top. And so we use the same method of pairing the two edges that we used when we built the other edges, except we have to preserve these. So we can create them, but that destroys all the centers. So what we can do is we can create them, move them out of the way, so that doing one of these slice moves won't affect the edge that we created, so we can keep this edge together. That's one of the cases that we'll run into when we're creating these edges. The other case is the two on top. Now for this one, it's easiest to have these two right next to each other, like we did with green. So we hide this, and we want this edge to be right next to it, right here. So we hide this, move it to the spot, bring it back together, and move it to the front. So now we can hide this edge, bring it across, bring this edge up, and hide the edge. Now, what we have to do is we have to undo the moves that we did to create the edge, but without the edge there. So we brought this down, brought it across, brought it up. So we hide the edge, bring it back to the state that it was when the edge was here, and then undo the slice, move it back, and keep the centers. And then we can just insert the edge. So now we have all the centers and these cross edges done. The next step is creating the edges, the final edges. And the method that we're going to be using is creating the edges on the slice across, taking them out and putting back in unsolved edges, so that when we slice back, the edges will be solved. And then the final two edges, or the final edges, will need an algorithm, or they'll usually need an algorithm to solve. So when I finish this, I look for the one that would match up with this blue and red, and it's right here. So I bring it up and I put it into the slot like this. So so that when we slice over, these two are going to be matched up. Because if we just inserted it normally, then we'd have a problem, like that they're not going to be paired up. So we have to use the sledgehammer to insert it, or rotate and insert it. But I'd rather use the sledgehammer to do it. So then we look for the next one on top, the blue and orange. And it is not here, which is good, because then we'd have a problem. So yeah, so we can see that it's here now, and we can insert it normally, so that when we slice over, it's going to be solved. And we look, so now we have this one, and it's here. So we can slice over, and now we insert edges that are not solved, so that when we slice back, they become solved. So I see this one, so we insert that, and we look for the other orange and yellow. That one is right here, so we can do this, and then we find the green and orange, and it is right here, so we just insert it in. So after we insert it, we slice back, and that solves these. But this is one of the cases that we can run into. It's where these two are unsolved, and what we need to do is we need to have these two on the same layer, so that when we slice over, it doesn't become solved. So we can take this out, or we use an algorithm. I call it the flipping algorithm, and what it does is it flips this edge, and it does some other stuff, but it doesn't matter because this part is not solved. So what it does is it flips this edge so that we can do what we need to do, and we're going to have to use this algorithm later. So it goes R, U, R prime, F, R prime, F prime, R. So now we have these two on the same layer, and we're going to slice over. We're going to use the algorithm again, so we can flip this edge, and when we bring this back, it will become solved. And so we use the algorithm again. R, U, R prime, F, R prime, F prime, R. And so now we can see that when we slice this over, it solves this edge, and it solves this. So now we're going to solve the rest like a 3x3. And it should be fairly simple if you know how to do that. So yeah, there's two parities that we can run into while we're solving like a 3x3, and that is OLL parity and PLL parity. And as you can see, we have OLL parity because this is impossible to have. You can have 3 oriented and 1 not oriented. That doesn't happen on 3x3. Like, we can have 3 and we can insert it, but there's got to be 4. Like, we can sledgehammer this in, and so there'd only be 2. Yeah. So there's no way we can get 3 on a 3x3. So that's how you can see parity. So the algorithm we're going to be using to solve OLL parity is R wide 2, back 2, U2, L wide, U2, R wide prime, U2, R wide, U2, F2, R wide, F2, L wide prime, back 2, R wide 2. So that solves OLL parity, and then we can do our normal OLL, and now we go to POL. So there's two cases that we run into when we have POL parity. It's these two have to be swapped, or it's these two have to be swapped. So it's either a cross swap or an adjacent swap. And both of these algorithms are very simple. And they use the same little algorithm. And so that is little r2, u2, little r2, u wide 2, little r2, u wide 2, and then u2. So that swaps these two. When we do the adjacent swap algorithm, we have these two right here. And we do r, u, r prime, u. And what that does is it takes the edge that was right here and puts it here. And it takes the edge that was here and it puts it right there. And so we just swap these two using the algorithm that we already know. And that's little r2, u2, little r2, u wide 2, little r2, u wide 2, and then we bring this over and we basically insert this normally, and that solves the adjacent swap. Now you may run into parity where you have two corners swapped, like either these two or a diagonal swap, and just use the POL parity algorithm. So yeah, that is how to solve a 4x4 Rubik's Cube using the Yau method. I hope you guys learned some valuable stuff, and I hope I helped you understand it. I made this video for my friend Scott. He wanted me to teach him the Yau method, but I couldn't get around to doing it. And so now I can help him and a lot of other cubers by making this video. And I hope it made sense, and I made it easier to understand. So yeah, you should go check out Scott's Instagram. The link is in the description. So yeah, that's really it for this video. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys later.